Welcome back to 755 Forever. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic. I'm with my co-host, Eric O'Flaherty. What's happening, Eric?
What's up, Dave?
Well, that's a hell of a game with the Braves today, man. We've seen it a lot, and sometimes you kind of go, okay, now there's two strikes, though, and two outs in the ninth, so maybe it's not their day. But sure enough, Marcelo Ozuna, I would not ever bet against Marcelo Ozuna in Miami because that dude, for
No.
some reason, he lives down there. And he just rakes at that ballpark. I mean, we all know there's some ballparks where some guys rake like Matt Olson at Philly. I mean, he's
Yeah.
crazy good there. And Ozuna at Miami, which is where he got going last year after his dreadful April. First two games of May, he has 5 hits, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, first two games. So he's continued that. He hasn't cooled off since last May 1st.
It's crazy that, you get hot in the stadium and then when you go back, you're like, you almost just you can breathe, It's like I always do well here. You don't overthink anything, you're comfortable. I had a few stadiums like that, and then you have the opposite too. Like I had Oakland. I hated pitching there, never felt good there. San Francisco, something about the Bay Area. It
Yeah.
was always a battle for me to pitch there. But for him, it seems like he shows up and just knows he's going to do something every time.
So anybody that wasn't watching today, maybe you were watching the Masters and gave up on the Braves after they blew a 5-1 lead and they go down by two. Charlie was pitching really good, and then all of a sudden he made a few mistakes and they capitalized, and then Dylan Lee came in and gave up a bomb. Next thing you know, the Braves are down a couple of runs, and they go into that ninth and down a run, and they put together another one of their patented comebacks, and up steps Marcelo Ozuna with two on and gets two strikes, goes 0-2, and then just crushes a ball. It was to dead center. And this is after he'd hit two earlier balls off the wall and had to settle for a single on one of them. He hit it so hard
Yeah.
that it went right back to Jazz. And then he got a double on the other. So he could have easily had 3 home runs today.
Yeah, it seems like the ball doesn't really fly the same with that roof open. It
Yeah.
seemed like,
And it was
there was
swirling winds
how
too.
many
And
balls off like halfway up that tall wall in left center
yeah.
throughout the series.
Yeah, the Braves have come close in this series and all year, really, they've come close on a lot of balls. I know Matt Olson's had a couple that went off the bricks in right field at Truist,
Yeah.
which is a high wall. It's one of the higher ones. But they've had a lot of balls like that they've hit hard off the walls. So you got to think some of those will start going over because right now they're leading the majors in doubles, just tons of doubles. Whereas last year, they tied the major league record for home runs. You got to think some of those balls are going to start sailing. As soon as it warms up, they've played in a lot of wet, damp conditions, perfect conditions in Miami this time for a rare time when they only had that roof open, I think, 5 times last year. And they
I
did
was
it
going to
throughout
say,
this
I don't
series.
think I ever saw it. They'd have it open sometimes before batting practice.
Right,
Well, because they used to have real grass, so they had to have it
right.
open. But after, I don't remember ever playing a game with it open.
Not many, not many. And I tell you what, it's a good thing they don't because day games there, real problematic shadows, man.
Yeah.
Those shadows were pretty bad. And then CJ Nikowski, I think, or maybe it was Brandon pointed this out. I think it was CJ that batter's eye was so much sun on it that
Yeah.
it defeated the purpose of having a batter's eye. Because like
Hmm.
half of it was dark in the shadows, the other half was so much glare off the fake grass on that whatever that fake plant life is on that wall that it was just glare. So it doesn't help you see the pitch coming out of a guy's hand when the batter's eye looks like that. For those who are not aware, that's what the batter's eye for. So a guy can
Yeah.
see some context, see the ball, that some backdrop behind it instead of white shirts in the crowd, which you had sometimes at old places.
It's crazy to see those old stadiums that had no batter's eye. I
Yeah,
mean, think about, I guess you do it in high school and things like that, but even high school fields now have like at least black fence or something
right.
backed out back there. But think about hitting off, major league pitching and you have just nothing but random white shirts, jerseys, scattered background. That'd be tough to pick it up.
And especially when the mound was higher.
Yeah,
And you had Bob Gibson up there, or Sandy Koufax throwing a hammer at you with the white shirts in the background.
yeah. And probably shadows.
Yeah, 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 because there used to be a lot more day games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. You get used to seeing night games or games in dome stadiums or whatever. And then like playoffs come around and you really see shadows because there's so many day games in the postseason, games you're watching. And it's got to be, I mean, for players, it's got to be weird when you don't play many of those games all year, especially if it's a big game and you're facing a really good pitcher.
Yeah.
Like certain pitchers with certain shadows, like when the shadow line is coming straight across the field,
Right in the middle. Yeah.
sometimes between you and the pitcher. And it's like hopeless then. That's when guys just pile up strikeouts.
Yeah. Typically, if the ball's staying in one lighting the whole way, hitters don't complain too much. They
Right.
will if the batter's eyes lit up and the ball's dark, that's tough for them. But the hardest is when the shadows come right across, like halfway between, home plate and the mound, and the ball basically looks like it just disappears to them halfway. Those are brutal, and you always get them for like a Fox Sports game or like special broadcasts. They have like a 4 o'clock start, which
Yeah.
is typically
Yeah.
BP. So those throw guys off a lot, and then you go to the playoffs and you're only facing teams number 1 and 2s, and it seems like 50% of the games have shadows going.
Yeah. By the way, this episode of 755 Forever is brought to you by Joe Van Gogh's new coffee blend, number 44, named in honor. It's blend number 44, named in honor of Hank Aaron. And I happen to be drinking some of it right now. It's very good, man. Good coffee. I'm impressed. The beans are you get it fresh when you get it mail ordered. It'll be there fresh, and it's been roasted like within the last week, and it's really good. So visit joevangogh.com. That's JOEVANGOGH.com, and mention us for a discount. I think that deal's in effect. Try it at least. Anyway, so yeah, we keep talking about Marcelo Ozuna, and for rightfully so. This is a guy literally a year ago. We were still in April and he was statistically the worst lineup regular in the majors in April. And coming off the 2 previous seasons when he had a sub 700 OPS and all the legal problems,
Yep.
there were a lot of us. I finally was one in April when he was so bad who thought, okay, the time's coming. They're going to have to cut bait.
Oh, I said it too.
Because the 2 years where the legal problems, you kept him because you still owed him so much money, about
Yeah.
50 million. But then last year he was so bad in April that you thought, okay, you're going to have to swallow the remaining 35 million or whatever on his contract and just because you can't keep running them out there. And then it was like he flipped a switch May 2nd, beginning in Miami, when he had 5 hits, 2 homers, 5 RBIs in the first 2 games down there. And he took off from there. And he's not had a 2-week slump since then. And he's basically been on fire most of that time. We talked about Matt Olson. I looked it up. Matt Olson is the only guy with more homers and RBIs than Ozuna since May 1st last year. They're 1-2 in the majors. The guys who bat 4th and 5th for the Braves have more homers and RBIs than anybody else in the majors. And Ozuna's catching up with him. But I mean, this coming off the 4,100, you thought a 40 homer, 100 RBI season, considering the April he had, when he had 2 RBIs starting May 1st. He had 2 RBIs, both on solo homers. You thought he had a 40 homer, 100 RBI season. He can't replicate that again. Well, right now he's doing the same thing, if not better. Through 14 games, he is tied for the major league lead with Tyler O'Neill, who the Cardinals got rid of. He's with the Red Sox. He and Tyler O'Neill are tied for the major league lead with 7 homers, each in 14 games. The difference is Tyler O'Neill's got 8 RBIs. Marcelo Ozuna's leading the majors with 21 RBIs in 14 games. 21 in 14 games. That doesn't take a math whiz to know that's 1.5 RBIs per game.
Yeah,
That's pace for way over 200 RBIs.
When he gets hot, I mean, it seems like there's nowhere you can go. That ball he hit out tonight, I mean, or today wasn't even a strike, just sinker down and in off the plate. And he just has so much bat speed, I mean, you wonder how a guy with that bat speed ever struggles, but he does a few things that are unconventional. And it's such a hard game. You get into a funk and it takes one thing to click. And that's what is hard, because you hear people wanting to give up on players and this guy's washed and this guy's done, but it takes one thing clicking, one visual, one mindset change, one little like mechanical adjustment, something clicks and you hold on to it, you can ride it like he has. Whatever adjustment he made back in May, or maybe it was a confidence thing.
Yeah.
Some little thing can change. Every single player is close enough, and then all of a sudden they go on a tear like this.
Yeah, I mean, because those 2 years were so bad, and his problems off the field were so bad, ugly, that it's easy to forget this guy led the National League in home runs and RBIs in a pandemic year. He
Yeah,
had 18 and like 60 in or not 60, but eight, whatever the RBIs were in 60 games. He had 18 homers. And with the Marlins, he had a year like he had last year, only more RBIs.
yeah.
So, he's done. It's not like it's fluky or like he's, had it just played out of his mind last year. He just started so slow that the numbers look dramatic, but it's what the guy's capable of doing. I mean, you wouldn't teach anybody to swing like him, but you wouldn't teach anybody to swing like Freddie either, The feet move with Ozuna, he's got to kind of sync it up. But I tell you what, once he gets in position to hit, his bat stays in the zone a long time, and he's got tremendous bat speed.
Oh, it's unreal. It
Yeah.
seriously looks like he's swinging a 25-ounce bat,
Yeah.
like a kid's bat, because you're not sure he's going to swing or not, and his bat just comes through the zone so quick. The balls he can get to. I mean, he's huge, right? What is he?
I was going to say,
250?
man, I don't know what he's listed as, but when you see that dude without a shirt on, he's massive arms.
Yeah,
He's not like a fitness freak. He's got a little boiler, but it's a
yeah.
hard boiler.
The hard
You know what
boilers,
I
man.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
You
like
can't
it's
pinch
like
any fat on it, but it's there.
it's like Austin Riley said. If you run into that guy, it's like running into a brick wall. And that's
Yeah,
Austin Riley, who's like 235,
yeah.
240. Ozuna's got some big ass arms, man. he can he can turn on anything. I mean, you can't get a fastball by that guy.
Mm-mm.
So, and he's so perfectly suited for DH, where so many guys, at least when they're in the prime of their career, which he is still, he's at the back end of prime, but he's still in the prime of his career. But so many guys don't want to DH or they haven't done it before, and they feel like I don't want to DH till I have to, so I want to wait till I'm in my late 30s. He's a perfect DH at a time when teams are not paying like they used to pay Ortiz and those kind of guys. Teams aren't doing that now. They're getting by with a combination of guys in the DH role. So the Braves are kind of a throwback in that regard, but they got a guy in his prime who happens to kind of suck defensively, and he's learned to hit.
Yeah,
I mean, he can do it. He doesn't have to play in the field to be ready every at bat. He's learned it, and they're in a great spot. I mean, they're paying him, 16 mil. It's, maybe a lot for a DH, but with that production, that's not a lot for that production.
no, no. I mean, if you're a center fielder, you're probably making 30 something doing that, right? So you're
Yeah,
getting half for that
yeah.
offensive production. I mean,
Or a first
I,
baseman, making
yeah,
25 to 30. So, I mean, I still don't think they're going to pick up the option next year. But I think they'll buy it out and extend him for it's a $60 million option with a million buyout. I wouldn't be surprised if they extend him, for like 3 years, 30 million, something like that.
yeah. I mean, you
Two
never know what
years,
they're going to
20,
do,
whatever.
but
Yeah, you don't know. They don't have an obvious guy to take over at DH. And good
yeah.
luck getting that production for less than you're paying him, you know?
I mean, no, you're not finding that. The reason guys don't want a DH is because it's so hard to stay loose and feel
Yeah.
good. It's just
And
sitting you're active. If you have 4 at bats, I mean, that's like 8 minutes into 3 hours that
yeah,
you have to. The rest of the time, you're just hanging out. And it's mentally hard to stay locked in. I mean, it's similar to like a bench roll, only you're going to hit, so you have more time to prepare for your at bats. But guys want to be out in the field. You're running around. You're not thinking about your at bats. It's almost a distraction, keeps your body loose, and then you just go hit when it's your turn. I don't think it's easy to DH, and certain guys can just do it, and they seem to have that big poppy mindset too. And it seems like Ozuna has that, where he's just whatever goes. I
yeah.
don't think he's stressing anything.
Yeah, Austin Riley said he did it some in the minor leagues. He's only done it one game up here, but he said it's hard, man. I mean,
Yeah,
because and then Michael Harris will say, I can't even imagine doing it because when you have one job to do, and if you like strike out, then you're sitting around. And if your team has a long at bat or it's cold out or whatever, you're sitting around thinking about your AB. You have nothing else to do but do that like three more times, 4 or 5 times in a game tops. And Austin Riley said, he's able to stay sharp because I couldn't do it when I tried. I mean, yeah, I guess you got to do it a lot, but he did it in the minor leagues quite a bit. And he said, and Chipper didn't like doing it either, ever in his career. He wanted to play third, even when he was all dinged up. His knees were messed up, his ankle when he hurt it. No, he wanted to keep playing third base.
Yeah, most guys are going to get, everybody's doing their best, so you're going to get, now I wouldn't say obsessive, but you're going to hyper focus on it and analyze it too much to the point where you're tweaking your swing every time you get out. I mean, it's easy to get into a bad place when you only have one job. But if you go
Yeah.
out and make a play in the field and now I've impacted the game positively, my next at bat's not as big of a deal. You can't have that much weight on every at bat. But I think good DH is, they don't put that pressure on themselves at bat to at bat.
Yeah, so the pandemic year when he led the National League, he led him with 18 homers, 56 RBIs in 60 games. Also led the majors in plate appearances that year, 267 in 60 games. Led the National League in total bases that year and had 1,067 OPS. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, but that's shortened season. He'll never do that. And his high though was 2017 in a full season with the Marlins. When he was 26, he had 37 bombs, 124 ribbies, and a 924 OPS, and he hit 312 that year. And then, his average had gone down in those 2 years, the terrible years of the Braves, 21, 22. He had 213 and 226 those 2 years, 645 and 687 OPS. So he looked like he was done. 30 and 31, age 30 and 31 seasons. Bounces back last year after the horrible April and has a 905 OPS for the year, hits 274. Now look at him this year. The dude's hitting 352 with 1,019 OPS and a 195 OPS plus. I know it's just 58 plate appearances, 13 games, or actually, that's before today. Baseball Reference has not updated his before today. So I'll go to this other one. He's got a 1193 OPS. Right now, he's third in the majors behind Tyler O'Neill and Mookie Betts. And the crazy thing is he's hitting 373. He's fifth in the majors, tied for fifth in the majors in batting average, 14 games in, 59 plate appearances. So,
yeah, I think you get to May 2nd and look at the full year, year to year, it's going to be pretty impressive.
The 162 game is going to be incredible because he's playing every game. So it'll be nice to see what he's got over 162. If he keeps this up, it's going to be incredible. So yeah, if you're just going out of Brave stats, we talked about this. They're leading the league. They're leading the league and leading the majors and everything, basically batting average, slugging, OPS, everything. And they're still doing this without a whole lot from Acuna. He's starting to heat up now, though. I mean, he had a couple of hits today. I think it was two. And he's got the stolen bases are quickly going up now. He's got 7 steals. Still has not hit his first home run, but he's slugging 327. So his OPS is down at 712. So they're doing what they're doing now, and he hasn't even gotten hot yet, and he's going to. So when he does, just think with his offense, when he does his normal 900 OPS in the leadoff spot, with the slug and everything, it's going to be just think how many more RBI opportunities those guys behind him are going to have. Because Ozzy's got 13 RBIs behind him, and that's with Acuna not getting on base like he did last year.
Yeah, it's why it's hard for me to get too worked up over some starting pitching questions or the bullpen has a rough couple games because this lineup is just it's once in a lifetime. Yeah, I've never seen a better lineup than this. And
yeah,
the thing that was most impressive to me today was how comfortable those lefties looked off Luzardo.
Yeah.
I mean, they were on everything. Harris,
their lefties
Olsen.
can hit lefties. Yeah.
So you almost got to look at them as switch hitters like Ozzy. If lefties don't phase them, I mean, there's those lineups back in the day where you had a couple lefties that mash righties, but you could bring in a lefty reliever and get through them. Like you might not even want to bring in a lefty reliever against Harris or Olsen. They might be more comfortable and just drive them. They'll go with the ball into the other gap. It's just such a tough lineup. There's no breaks. They just grind you down every inning. There's people on base. Get 2 outs, and next thing you know, maybe you don't give up a run, but you threw another 21 pitches, and you ended the inning first and third, full count. And you got a pop up. And guess who's leading off the next innings? Top of the order. Like you
Yeah.
grind all the way through this lineup.
Yeah, right now they're leading the majors with they're hitting 301 as a team.
That's stupid.
361 OBP, leading that. They're leading an average OBP slugging 496 and OPS, obviously. OPS 583. Second in the majors in OPS. I'm sorry, 857. Second in the majors is the Brewers at 838. Then you go down third, and you're down at 791. So they're the only teams at 800. The Braves are at 857. It's just crazy what they're continuing to do from last year. So
Yeah.
it's like anybody that thought, okay, it was a perfect year for them, though, they can't repeat that. Well, so far they have, and they're doing it without Acuna being Acuna yet. And he's going to be Acuna soon.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole point is that they can be even better. And it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like there's certain times where a lot of balls are falling in, or you could just sense that this is not sustainable. But with this team, it's like this feels exactly like it
Yeah.
feels like every time I watch them.
Yeah, a lot of those doubles are going to be home runs soon. Right
Yeah.
now, they're tied for 10th in the majors in home runs with 17, but they're only 7 behind the leader, Dodgers. And this is after the Braves, tied the major league record last year, 307
Yeah.
homers.
They'll
So,
hit 20 in a week. It's like,
yeah, they'll have a couple of those 4 and 5 homer games.
yeah.
They're going to a hitter's park. Astros pretty good hitter's park. We'll see. Astros are starting to heat up, by the way. A week ago, they looked just as bad as the Marlins did with 2 wins, I think. Now they got 6. So, you had a feeling they were going to get heat up. You just hoped it wasn't against the Braves, and now they're warm now. So, I said the Marlins sucked, and the Marlins do suck, but they got a hell of a pitching performance from Max Meyer in that win yesterday. The Marlins
Yeah.
could have easily won this series.
Yeah.
They were 2-11 going into this series. They could have easily gone 2-1 against the Braves in this series. But I thought that Max Meyer yesterday, that's no shame losing to that guy.
No, he
Um,
looked good.
Charlie, I thought Chris Sale pitched well. He just made a couple of mistakes, but I thought he really pitched well, got deep in the game. Charlie, same thing today. I thought he pitched well, made a couple of mistakes. Uh, I thought AJ Przinsky, the Braves, CJ Nikowski, I thought had pointed out something really interesting because it's talking about the how Charlie swing and miss is down a lot on his curveball this year. There's only 2 starts for today. But CJ pointed out he's throwing a lot more of those curveballs for strikes, so he's not getting the chase and guys are making contact. He usually gets a real lot of chase on those, swing and miss on those. And today he did get a few, what he was talking about. He got ahead in the count, was able to throw that out, spike that curveball, throw it way outside, got some swing and miss. But so far, for today, he was throwing a lot of them for strikes in the zone.
Yeah. I feel like Charlie does this every year. He kind of it takes him a minute to get
It does.
going, and he has these
Yep.
starts early on where it's one good one bad one.
Yep.
And the bad ones are just an inning. It's one inning or 2 innings where he puts some guys on base, gives up a cheap hit and maybe a double. But he struggles to avoid those crooked numbers, it seems like early in the season. And then when you're writing him off, he goes on
Yeah.
a tear.
Yeah. Yeah. The important thing is he's healthy. His
Yeah.
velo's same, spin rates, everything. He's healthy. That's all you care about with Charlie. Just keep him healthy. And the same
Yeah.
thing with Chris Sale. He's healthy. Because right now, this pitching staff as a whole, bullpen started off great. They've stubbed their toe a few times lately. The Fried had 2 of the worst starts of his career, and then he had a great Fried start in game 1 of the series. That was really encouraging for the Braves. I know it's against the Marlins, but it was a really strong start. So all 3 starters got deep in the game, but so far the pitching staff's not even coming close to what they can do. I'm looking this up right now. As a staff, they are 23rd in the majors in ERA at 4.90, and they're 9-5. All the other teams they're down there with,
Yeah.
as far as ERA, none of them have a record like the Braves do down there. The Rays are 5.06, they're 9-7. Everybody else down there is Rockies 4-12, Astros 6-11, Marlins 3-13, Giants 6-10, White Sox 2-13, Blue Jays 8-8. Those are the teams that are below the Braves. Angels 7-8, and Angels off to a good start for them. Nationals 6-9. So then you got the Braves at 9-5. It just tells you how powerful this offense is.
I don't think you can use a better, gauge for that.
Yeah.
It's not how you draw it up, and it's like I'm saying, you might worry about it, but the offense, sure they'll hit some rough patches, but I mean, I don't think there'll be a series all year where they score 2 runs or less in 3 games.
Yeah.
You're always going to get some blow up innings out of this offense because there's just no breaks.
Garrett Crochet was the White Sox left-hander who shoved against the Braves.
Yeah.
They won that game. And Max Meyer did the same thing for the Marlins. So it's kind of like you can throw the record out the window when a guy's going to pitch that well
Yeah.
that the Braves have never seen before. And Max Meyer, dude, that guy's made 3 starts this year. He's 2-0 with a 2.12 ERA for a team that's won 3 games. He's 25. He just turned 25.
Yep.
This kid's he's the real deal. They had so many guys get hurt pitching wise, but this guy, it's allowed him to kind of emerge as a staff ace. And the guy pitched today is pretty damn good too. But the Braves didn't have trouble with him like they have in the past.
And you do it against this lineup, that's something you build on. It's like,
Yeah.
if I can do that to that team, I can beat anybody.
And Crochet, he had a 2.53 ERA through 3 starts against good teams, Tigers, Braves, and the Royals, who are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. He had a 2.0 ERA, 2.0 ERA in those 3 games, not 2.53, 2.0 in those first 3 starts. And against the Braves, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. So until he gave up 5 runs against the Reds yesterday, that took his ERA up a run and a half. He's a 3.57 now, but he had 10 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings yesterday against the Reds. That kid's dynamite, man. He's got 31 strikeouts and 4 walks in 22 2/3 innings. And he's 1-3 because the White Sox are so bad. But he's a stud.
That's what you should be doing with that stuff. I mean, it's shocking how many of these pitchers you see now. I see these lefties throwing 90 that have a 97-mile-an-hour fastball and a great off-speed pitch and a changeup.
Yeah.
And a 4.5 ERA.
Yeah.
It's like it almost makes me mad. How can you not? If you gave me that and let me just go pitch with that,
yeah,
you know how much fun that would be versus just grinding it at 92. And it'd almost be good for some of these guys to just have a weird moment where they lose 5 or 6 miles an hour and have to actually figure out how to pitch, because if you throw 97 and you're however tall and you can't find a way to make that stuff work to get out, it's like, I don't understand.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
It's crazy because that team is so bad, but they got some serious talent. They got a couple of really good guys in the lineup, 3 guys, the White Sox I'm talking about. And then they got this kid starting, and Kopech as a closer. It's like you're wasting his arm almost as a closer because he is coming in there after what, a second Tommy John he had? I think he had a second. He's in there blowing gas, dude. He's throwing 101, 102 as a reliever, and he's like untouchable. Closing for the White Sox. But that guy's a stud, man. If he holds up, geez, you almost wince though watching him because he has had 2 Tommy Johns out there throwing that hard.
But he's not getting cheated.
No.
He's letting it eat.
Garrett Crochet, though, the 31 strikeouts, he leads the majors. He's got 31 strikeouts in 22 2/3 innings. Next is Zach Wheeler with 30 in 24 innings. They both got off the charts strikeouts to walk ratio. Crochet's 31-4, Wheeler's 30-5. And then Glass now, he had that huge game the other day. He's got 29 strikeouts and 7 walks in 24 innings. He's 3-0 with a 2.25 of the Dodgers. So right now, that's looking pretty damn astute getting him. He might have been just what they needed if he can hold up, but it's a long season, and he hadn't been able to hold up before.
He's a freak of nature. I was in camp with him in Pittsburgh, and it was like, they put you through all these tests like broad jump and they put you through actual athletic tests, even though you're a pitcher. It's like, I don't know if this will transfer or not, but we're going to test all these things. And whatever everybody was jumping or however fast they were running, it was like just add 20%, and that was Glasnow because he's tall and he's shredded.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
he would be lifting, and he looks skinny, but he's deadlifting 450 pounds like
Yeah.
it's 50-pound dumbbell, just picking it up like it's
Yeah.
nothing. There's so many guys like that in the game now that there didn't used to be.
Right behind them, by the way, in the fourth slot and in strikeouts, Cole Reagan's dude is dealing with the Royals. He's got a 1.93 ERA in four starts, 29 strikeouts, 7 walks, and 23 and third innings. Cole Reagan's. There's a lot of different guys at the top, man, because so many guys are hurt.
Yeah, and it's hard to
Wheeler
keep
being an
track now
exception.
because the game's so young. I mean, I haven't even seen that guy pitch yet. I used to know everybody in the game because guys will be with teams for 5, 6, 7
Yeah.
years. There's a new
They,
guy every day coming up doing something.
then there's some familiar guys. Wheeler's familiar out of the
Yeah.
top guys there, but there's some, and Glass now, but he's always been hurt. But there's some familiar guys after that. Louis Castillo, my guy for he's got a ton of strikeouts, but man, he's getting lit up. So many hits he's given up. But you got Reed Detmers is dealing for the Angels. One of the reasons
Hmm.
they've got off to a good start. He's 3-0 with a 104 ERA for the Angels, man.
Did he throw a no-hitter?
Oh, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he
Yeah,
did.
last year.
I thought
Last
somebody
year.
threw one this year. Or yeah,
Oh,
he threw
no,
one last year.
yeah, no, the guy for the Astros threw it this year.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Zach Allen, off to a great start with Arizona, 3-0, 164 and four starts. Freddie Peralta, there's some familiar names there. Corbin Burns, off to a great start with Baltimore. And then some other ones, some new guys below that. So anyway, yeah, a lot of new faces on there, a lot of veterans coming back from injuries, trying to come back. So let's talk real quick. First, let me read this coffee thing. How do you get ready for a day game after a night game? A superb cup of coffee, or two, or three, or six in my case, is a great way to start. Joe Van Gogh Coffee suggests blend number 44, so named in remembrance of Hall of Famer, Braves legend Hank Aaron, Henry Aaron. What better brew to pour into your 755 Forever mug? Those are sweet mugs, by the way, than a coffee honoring Hammer and Hank, the author of 755 big league home runs. For a limited time, find our blend number 44 at joevango.com and enter the code HAMMER. It is still going at checkout to receive an additional 20% off your purchase. Good coffee. Joe Van Gogh's been roasting and serving coffee for 30 years and following the Braves through each and every one of them. Visit joevango.com. That's JOEVANGOGH.com. Um, we got the news that I think most of us, we talked about it, we're expecting. But the worst case, obviously, or the bad part of it, obviously, is Spencer Strider had to have elbow surgeries out for the season. The best case out of the worst case scenario, in other words, the positive out of it is he didn't get a full Tommy John. He got the brace, which we talked about might be the reason why they hadn't announced it yet. They were waiting because I think he was weighing his options. And, Strider probably
Yeah.
dug way into the research, probably asked a bunch of people, which should I do, and figure out why. So he got the internal brace, which is pretty new. I mean, relatively compared to Tommy John. This is
Yeah.
kind of the new age of Tom. Instead of, if a guy doesn't have to get Tommy John, some guys are getting this. The advantage being it's not half the length of the rehab, but it's about 4 or 5 months shorter. So instead of, we used to be Tommy John was 12 months. All the pitchers are going 15, 16 months now.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing 12 like they used to, like Moylo did. But this thing is like 12 months, being cautious, being prudent. So instead of coming back at the All-Star break or after the break next year, Strider can now aim to be back
May.
early in the season. Yeah, well, you're looking at April 12th. He had it. So at a year from then,
Yeah.
and if it goes well, who knows? Might even not rule out opening day. He could be ready opening day. That's 11 to 12, 11 and a half months.
I need to read about this thing because it's so new. I don't really know, I don't know a ton about it.
Well,
If it's as invasive or
it's
what
not. I did some research on it because the other day when they announced that he got the internal brace, Meister, and that was another reason I thought he might get it, is because Meister is kind of the at the forefront of the internal brace procedure. He's one of the leading practitioners of it, like kind of like Andrews used to be or Job used to be with Tommy John. What they do is the biggest thing difference is you don't have to build a new ligament. You use the
Yeah.
ligament that's there. So I don't think you can do it with a complete tear. But with a partial tear, what they do is they build a suture, like it's a coated, tape coated thing,
Yeah,
and
I'm
they
looking at it.
attach it to the ligament. And it's not nearly as much drilling into the bones. You still anchor this thing,
Yeah.
but it lets that regenerate and it supports that. But you can't do it with I don't think you can do it with a complete tear. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah. And I think it depends on also the tissue with specific patients. Some guys are quote unquote fast healers or whatever, and some guys are maybe if they're older, maybe they wouldn't be great candidates for it. But I guess Strider really was a good candidate for it because it tells me he did not have a full tear. Obviously,
Yeah.
they never called it a tear; they called it damaged.
Well,
Um,
the full tear is normally the pop and you walk off the
right,
mound. You don't have a
exactly,
full tear when you walk off and tell the
exactly.
trainer it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking because it seems like every guy that has a partial tear says after the fact, or I'm getting a little
Yeah.
sore. Or Strider
Yeah.
didn't even, he wanted to keep going. So,
Yeah.
and I was wondering because I had not done the research. I didn't know what the success rate for this was. I thought maybe that's
Yeah.
the drawback is it's not
Yeah.
as kind of foolproof, but the success rate is good. So they have to determine if you're a good candidate. But once they do that, I think the success rate is just as high or maybe even higher for a second one. But we don't have enough people to really, you can't tell yet. Not enough people have done it.
You gave
Kind
me
of
the if I needed another one and you gave me the option of a full TJ or
right.
reinforcing whatever's going on in my elbow, I'd choose this every time.
Yeah. I mean, you're not having to build a new ligament out of another part of your body.
Yeah.
You're keeping that ligament. So it's got to be better as long as they can strengthen that thing and let it heal. And you have that thing stays in there, obviously.
Yeah. And like I said, I pitched with a partial tear for
Right.
it was 8 years. And most of the time I didn't even feel it. There's times where it would pop up if I got a little worn down or something like that, but it always felt great after an off season and rest. And that ligament you got, I mean, that's been there. I just think the less kind of
Yeah.
tearing up of that joint you can do, the less invasive, the better. If you gave me
Yeah.
this option, I would take it unless it was like 60% success rate and Tommy
Right.
John was 90.
Exactly. Exactly. I've heard 80 to 90, but I think that's to get back at or
100%.
better than,
Yeah.
yeah, than you were. I mean, yeah, you'd want it to be closer to 100, but even Tommy John's not for a second one. We think of all the people that have done it and have been good, but there's not been many that have had a second Tommy John. So
No.
I think this was the best choice for him, obviously, as long as he was a good candidate for it. I mean, and for the Braves, I mean, that's a huge difference getting him back at the beginning of the year as
Yeah.
opposed to the All-Star break. Because if it was All-Star break, you'd really have to go out and get somebody in the offseason to fill that number one spot or number two spot. Because you might not even have Max Fried next year. You'd be
Yep.
losing both your one and two, at least until the All-Star break.
And Charlie's getting old. Yeah. Like you don't even
Right.
know if he's going to want to keep doing it.
Charlie has hinted at retirement the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
I think this year he probably will, unless he just has a phenomenal year. So yeah, you're gonna need Strider back and resign free, but it's getting way down the line with that. So his price is going up if he keeps having starts like he did yesterday. Of course, his first two starts, price was going down. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But yeah, that was the positive out of some bad news. You feel terrible for the guy, but knowing Strider, like he had the first one, and he went gung ho into all that he could to fine tune his mechanics, strengthen everything else, get stronger in the legs than he ever was. So I know if I know Strider, he's going to get stronger, even stronger in the shoulders and everything that he already was a workout maven, but I can imagine him coming back and being in just ridiculous shape, when he's
Well, some
working on their
guys
stuff.
use it. Some guys use that time off to try to get better, and some guys take the
Right.
time off and just, you know, kind of piss it away. He's not going to
Right.
do that.
Yeah, he's not
He's
going to do that.
he can do everything
But
he can.
I'm going to be interested in the curveball. I'm thinking
Me
he
too.
probably, I'm thinking, you know, is it just a coincidence that he didn't throw it before and he throws it for a few months and all of a sudden I don't know.
Well, that's what I was hoping when it all came up. I was just hoping he just was having just irritated flexors, in his forearm from being in a different position, grip it.
Right.
You squeeze that ball a little different, you release it a little different. I thought maybe it just pissed his elbow off. They're doing the MRI to be safe, but like I said, they find a tear in there. They want to do something to it. They don't want to just leave that and hope it doesn't pop. And when I think of the two, when you do have a full tear, I think that's a harder recovery in general than partial, and then getting it reinforced
Yeah. Uh, he's doing it, by the way. Meister's doing it on some full TJs. He's putting the brace in there with it.
with it. Yeah,
So yeah, that's a great option if you can do that now and have that in there on top of the new ligament too. So
yeah.
maybe I would think that gives you a lot better chance of not re-tearing it. But all this stuff is, like I said, that we don't have huge sample sizes yet. So like you do with Tommy John, where there's been like almost
A million.
3,000 in the pro
Yeah,
ball. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So good luck to Strider, and we'll see. It just makes you appreciate the fact that Charlie is 40 and still spinning the ball like he does, and can still rear back and throw mid to upper. He can still throw 96.
That's God given. It's I don't care how hard you work or what a great routine you have. Like you
Yeah,
can look at guys like Jake Arrieta who was drinking a gallon of kale juice or what. I mean, he's doing everything he can.
right.
He gets to a point where his body just can't take it anymore. And then you have guys like Charlie where, his clock just doesn't seem to want to expire.
He's just, you look at him and he's just got the perfect pitcher's build too.
Yeah.
Just perfect. The long
Yeah.
limbs. He's not a big, huge guy. He's just a big guy by, you know, um, he's proportioned right, but he's
Yeah.
got long limbs. And he struggled. It took him a decade to really find himself and he came in his own in his 30s.
Yeah.
And he figured out what his best delivery was. And after he'd had Tommy John and sorted other injuries, and then figured out how the spin rate when the advanced metrics came in, and he could shape it and look at it and figure it out. So he's a guy that metrics really helped analytics.
I was thinking about this the other day. I just looked it up, but I was wondering how much Charlie had made. And, he'd made about 8 million by the time he turned 30. He's going to
Yeah.
finish his career making about 150. And I
Well,
bet you if you told him when he was 30, like you're going to finish with 150
yeah.
in earnings, that would have been hard to believe.
Well, it's crazy. His highest salaries have been in ages 38, 39, and 40 seasons, right?
Yeah.
Those have
Yeah.
been his
Because
highest salaries.
he only had 5 years of service at 30 years old. And
Yeah.
then he went 8, 8, 7 with a $1 million buyout, 7, 15, 15. He turned 37, got 15 from the Braves. And then
Yeah.
38, 39, and 40, he made 20 mil. So he's made
20.
60 mil
Yeah.
after 37
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's but
90
while
after 35.
while talking retirement, like
Yeah.
every year.
Every year, I don't want to do this anymore. But that's why when it comes up, like how do you if you're still functional and
Yeah.
getting big leaguers out, we offer you 20 mil to play a game for one more year.
Yeah.
How do
And
you turn that down?
he's got those 3 or 4 kids, and this money he's made in these last 3 years is going to assure whatever happens in their lives, they're all covered,
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, dad's got that money, man.
Well, yeah, I don't see Charlie flying private. You know what I
No,
mean? And buying
no,
Lambos. His
no.
money's gonna stay.
Although he does, after talking to Spencer, he does have an affinity for the Porsches. He's a vintage
Oh
Porsche
yeah,
guy. Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's his thing. So,
Those
'cause,
hold their value though.
yes, because Spencer was telling me, because Charlie is an encyclopedia of Porsche, because Spencer loves it too. Doesn't have one yet. But he said, Charlie, I said, does he got that 4-door one with all the kids? Does he have a 4-door, the sports car? What is it? Derek Lowe
Oh,
had it.
the the Panamera,
Yeah,
Panamera, something
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
Panamera. Because Derek
yeah,
Lowe had one when they were new. And Charlie said,
yeah. That's what he was drag
actually,
racing on Peachtree.
yes, yes. Charlie said, actually, he does. He's got the what, Taycan? Is it Taycan? He's got that one.
Um,
And he's got like a supercharged one. He said it's like a supercar, basically. But he's got because of the kids.
yeah. But I know that the 911 has 4 seats. If you don't get the super like the
Yeah.
GT3 or whatever it is, has a roll
He's
cage.
got one of those.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No,
but that's his thing. That's his one thing. He's lived in the same house for a long time. He's, doesn't blow his
you
money.
you can do that. You're
Yeah.
good as long as you're not getting. I had a teammate and his wife was throwing these brunches, catered that were like $30,000
Oh my
every week.
God.
And as long as you don't have anything like that happening, I think you're good to go when you've made 150. But you'd be surprised how easy it is to blow some money.
Oh, you can blow it in a hurry with a DIVORCE.
Yeah, there's 50. There's 50 and
We
50 went to taxes.
we've seen a few guys go through that before.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so this is going to be an interesting series. They're going to start Darius Vines. Snit announced it after the game today, as we expected, because they sent down Winans after his start, brought Vines up the next day. Same thing. If they needed him in long relief, they would have used him. If not, then he was going to start this game. They didn't need, so then he'll make the start. Then I would anticipate he'll get optioned the day after. They'll bring another guy up, do the same thing, whether it's Dylan Dodd or whoever, Bryce Elder. I think when Bryce comes up, it'll be more, he have a chance to make more than one start, but I don't know. But for now, they're in this kind of cycle. You bring the guy up because they can. They got these optionable pitchers. You bring a guy up. If you need him in long relief, if it's a blowout, you don't want to burn any of your pitchers. You can do that. I'm sure he would have started or he would have pitched the other day instead of Guillorme, but Winans was going to pitch. Oh
Next
no,
day.
that was the game Winans started. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Guillorme came at the end of that. So, but if you had one of those situations arise, and you needed a couple of innings, you could use one of these guys. But that they bring him up with the intention of he's going to start, unless we have to have him for long relief. Man, when I saw Guillorme pitch the other day, it reminded me how much I respected, how much I loved the fact that Bobby never would use position guys.
Yeah.
He hated it. Bo and I were talking about this, Bowman and I think we saw it one time, and it was a long game. But remember, that's back when there were a lot of 14, 15, 13, 14, 15 inning games. Now
And they
there's none
still
of
wouldn't do
those.
it.
He still
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. And now there
Used
are
to
none
see
of
it like
those.
once a season, the team would do it once a season. Like we played a series against the Pirates where we went extras one game and 19 another, and it was back-to-back nights or within a couple days. So
That was the
we
game that ended
no
at like
position player.
3 in the morning, the
Yeah,
19 inning one.
the ump just said that's enough. He
On
saved.
that
Saw
terrible
Lugo
call at the
save.
plate.
Said we gotta go.
Where he tagged the plate twice, or where he tagged him out
He
twice.
tagged him 3/4 of the way to third base,
He
and the
did.
slide didn't even get there.
That was an
Yeah,
unbelievable call, man.
Clint Hurdle's face turned purple.
Yes, yes. We were like, oh, thank God. We're at it. I remember driving home from that game that night after writing, because it was it was a story. I had to write a story. And I remember driving home past the McDonald's near my house, and it was open.
People were getting breakfast.
People were
Yeah.
getting breakfast. The sun was about to come up.
Yeah, we didn't use any position players that day.
Yeah, that's what Bobby he would always keep a couple of guys, and if he got like to the 12th inning, he had two relievers, he'd make that guy go 2 or 3 innings,
Yeah.
then the next
Yep.
guy was going to do the same thing. So
Yeah.
I just
But
liked
they
it.
got different rules now. Not rules, but teams have different protocols for guys. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah, they
mean,
do rest and all that.
I text Moilo all the time. Like, man, can you imagine if 2 days off was a guaranteed
Yeah,
down day? You know how good our arms would have felt. We
yeah,
had to go. We didn't get a guaranteed off day until 4 in a row. 3 in a row, you were kind of,
yeah,
emergency only or something like that. And granted, sometimes, a portion of those games we'd be brought in for one hitter, but you're still going through the whole
right.
process, and it's still, you do a full warm up, you get into a game, and you throw it full effort.
Yeah,
Whether it's 3 pitches or 14, and you get 3 hitters or one hitter on, it's the same taxation on your arm. So it's just funny now to watch. These guys they pitch one, and I was really shocked when I went to Oakland, and they were already doing that. And these guys
yeah.
would pitch one, and then they'd have a day off, and then they'd pitch again, and then they'd get 2 days off, and they'd be saying, "Yeah, I might need one more." And I just wanted to punch them in the stomach. Like, dude, you need one more. You've pitched 2 out of 4 days. You're
And if they
fresh.
and if they go 40 or 50 pitches, they get like 4 days.
A
You
month.
know, it's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're throwing so many guys are throwing so hard too.
Yeah.
Relievers are throwing so hard. So I understand why they do it. I still hate it though, because what it does to bullpen ERAs, what it does to the integrity of the game. I'm just old school like that. And the fans that come out to see it.
Yeah.
It might be something funny like a matchup between two friends, that kind of thing. That's rare. Most of the time, it's just garbage though. And a guy hits a grand slam the other day off Yorme. That's just
I was like, this is old, the ultimate clown moment. Last year I was watching the game, or maybe the year before, and Rendon switched around and hit left-handed
Yeah,
and hit a bomb. And I'm just, what the
yeah,
hell is going
yeah.
on in this
It's a
game?
major league game that counts.
And this guy's batting lefty, and then he hits a home run.
You don't even do that in spring training games.
No.
So yeah. But yeah, Snitz evolved in that one too, so he'll do it occasionally, but he doesn't do it like a lot of teams do still. And they have the rule now where you got to be behind by 10 runs or ahead by 8 or whatever. It's that because they don't want it. Guys doing it
Yeah.
because for a while there, it was
Teams
happening
were
like
doing
every
it
night.
down four. Teams would
Every
just be
night.
down four. We're
Yes.
saving our fan for tomorrow. We're probably not coming back.
We're
They got a
sucking.
lights
Yeah.
out closer.
Yeah. It was
Throw
looking,
a
it looked
position player.
bad. It just looked bad. So,
You had position players with 12 appearances on a season.
yep. This episode of 755 Forever is brought to you by Joe Van Co's new coffee blend called Blend Number 44, named in honor of Hank Aaron. Visit joevango.com. That's JoeVanGogh.com and get some of that coffee with the cool it's got a cool packaging on it, great logo, good font. So, all right, well, we'll do this again. I'm flying to Houston in the morning and looking forward to this. Should be a good series now that the Astros are playing better ball, and we'll see what Vines can do tomorrow. When they stuck him in that game last year in Colorado, he really stepped up. So
Yeah, he did.
they could use
I
that
think it's good
again.
to give these guys some auditions. I mean, get a look at what they're going to do at the major league level because we've talked plenty about it. It's a little different when those bright lights come on.
Yeah. So the Braves have got what, 3 at Houston, then they get a day off, and then they got the Rangers, Marlins, and Guardians, Cleveland, all coming in for a long homestand. That'll be a 9 games in 10 days homestand after this Miami Houston trip. So, all right, that's it. And then Seattle and LA out there, West Coast coming up. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate it. And subscribe on YouTube and give us a good grade. We'd appreciate it.